It all came down to the last day of the SWPL season, where Hibs managed to defy the odds and overcome the top three in the likes of Celtic, Rangers and Glasgow City to lift the title on the final day at Ibrox. I came down here to the Hibernian Training Centre to speak to head coach Grant Scott just on how exactly his side managed to do it. Grant, first of all, thanks for joining us and congratulations on picking up the SWPL title. Have you managed to wrap your head around that just yet?
Thanks for having me. Honestly, I'm not sure if I have. I have a little your private moments where you drift off to the final whistle, and seeing some of the players' celebrations afterwards on social media and stuff are the bits that have really probably helped it sink in a little bit. I'm not sure how much I've enjoyed it or not. Obviously, delighted with the team and the performance, and to get it over the line was incredible. So, yeah, I'll probably need a bit more time if I'm being honest with you.
Let's go back to the beginning of the season then. Did you set targets? What were they? Was it to score as many goals as you can in games, considering the way that last seasons have went, or was it just stay in that top half of the table consistently?
Yeah, look, I think for us, our realistic aspirations, were to first of all secure the top six, so that we're involved in the split games. We probably surpassed that at the time that the split was about to happen, and we've probably done that earlier than we thought we would. And then it was, we'd got ourselves into a favourable position, and really just at that point ride out as many games as we could, and see where it took us. We knew, or we still know, but we knew then that there was a lot of threats in the games to play. Some really big sides, some quality sides, and what was last year's top three. Hearts have had a bit of a thing over us this season. They've beaten us a number of times. So yeah, it was all tough. Way back at the start though, it genuinely was, let's see if we can do a little bit better than last year points wise. Let's see if we can improve our goal difference, and we thought that might creep us up the league by a position or two, but we didn't really impart it too much to the players. We didn't try that last year, and I kind of have a feeling it hadn't worked for me. So I think myself, Stuart and Joelle, we decided to be a bit more generic with our performance levels rather than absolute aspirations. So yeah, we did it a little bit different this year.
Was goal scoring one of the priorities though, with just given the way that teams have won the league previously on goal difference?
Truthfully, I didn't think we would be where we were, so we hadn't really discussed it. There was a couple of games in, I think it was February time, where probably games that outside looking in would have expected us to score more, and I felt the squad were maybe a little bit frantic at that point, thinking about the goal difference. Ultimately on Sunday past, it could have been really, really detrimental for us. But I had this thing that I said to the players: if we won every game 1-0, we'd win everything. Nobody would care about what goal difference we had. So we would have at that point just had more points than everyone. So that was really something we tried to take out. I just felt the added pressure of that was not what we needed at the time. Looking back at it in hindsight, perhaps, given that we could have lost everything on goal difference in a three-way tie, it's maybe something for me to look at going forward. How
were the nerves leading up to that game when you looked at the table and how close it was?
Yeah, I think obviously there's the nervous excitement. I actually found myself not too nervous that week, which I was probably more nervous for the preceding two games, because what I thought, I wanted it to go to the last game at the very worst for us. If we'd maybe lost our way in the previous two, I felt that would have been a sorer blow. So yeah, actually my nerves going into Sunday were pretty good. I was fairly calm, just the nervous excitement rather than the nervous fear.
Tell me about the likes of Eilidh Adams and Kathleen McGovern coming into the squad this year. How beneficial have they been?
Look, both individually magnificent players. Eilidh's a great athlete, has many attributes: her strength, her persistence. She's able to get about the pitch so much for full 90 minutes. And I think that's, in fairness to Kathleen, something she's added to her game. You know, they were very different players at the start of the season, contrasting players rather. So we you know, sometimes one was in, the other one was out, and it was maybe opponent specific. Later on, we've found a way to have them both in the team, and I think in moments they've played together really, really well. They've complemented each other with the differences in their own games. But yeah, look, we're very fortunate to have both. Obviously, Eilidh is a player I've known for a long time, nurturing her through the academy when I was here before, and obviously observing her the last couple of years when I've been away. But she's improved no end, and I think there's probably more to come in truth, and she's a willing learner. She tries really hard. Physically she's developed this year. And then the flipping bringing Kathleen is, I felt, as young as she is, having been around a couple of clubs and played abroad, I thought kind of just gave her a little bit additional experience that we could tap into. But I remember her breakthrough season way back when I was at Hibs previously, and she gave, there was one match in particular I distinctly remember at Ainsley Park where she gave Joelle and Siobhan a torrid time. I think she scored 2 against us that game as a 16, 17-year-old kid. And I just had in my head at that point that wherever I ended up, and if I got the chance, I would bring in a team I'm working in, and because I thought she would just score goals for me the way I want the game played. So yeah, look, they've done brilliantly well. Without their goals, who's to say where we would have been? But you know, every successful story has that. I think the girls at the back have done well this year too. So, but yeah, we're very fortunate to have both of them.
Just going from those two who are just breaking into their careers, you also have that element of experience in the squad, Rachael Boyle and Siobhan Hunter as well. That must be key.
Yeah, look, Rachel's been unlucky with injury again, and you know, we got her back for a spell, and we instantly saw her quality and the leadership that she has on the pitch. Played in a big Glasgow City win for us, I think back in January. Unfortunately, just took up another injury, and it's kept her out for a bit. But these players are invaluable. Siobhan's, I think a lot of people probably wrote her off last season. She was out the team for a good chunk. Joelle's final season, Poppy Lawson's form was good, and she just struggled to get back in. But I've got a lot of faith in Siobhan. She's worked so hard on herself this year, particularly, to get her mindset correct, and she works tirelessly at it. But over and above that, you've got that experience and leadership on the pitch that, yeah, you hear her every game instructing and demanding standards from people. And yeah, I think there's a few in there you could add into that. You know, Kira and Kirsten joining us were very similar types of player with that experience, leadership quality. So yeah, but you know, it takes all parts to make a good team.
Absolutely. And when you started to take points then from Celtic, Rangers, Glasgow City, even Hearts at times, was there a moment that you thought, we could actually do this here?
Do you know, I'm not sure. I think I'm quite pragmatic that way. I think we'd got ourselves into a good position, and I knew if we performed as I thought we could in every game, that we would win more than we would lose. It's obviously tough going into that split with the teams, and our record is incredible since the split. So I'm very, I don't think I had that moment where I thought, in truth, the biggest reaction I've had is when we scored on Sunday. Internally, I thought, you know, 16 minutes or so to go, Rangers had struggled a little bit to break us down, and that's the first time I looked at the clock and the scoreline and thought, yeah, that's going to happen. Genuinely, that was probably the only time. 16 minutes to go in the season.
But it was the slowest 16 minutes.
Yeah, do you know, I did look at it a few times, but yeah, when you see that extra time going up and it's 4 minutes and you think, oh. But yeah, it took a while to get there, but yeah, grateful.
Did you enjoy being the underdog in the lead up? Because I think, with all due respect, I think most would have said, you know, Glasgow City and Rangers would have been the front runners for the title. Yeah,
I think so. I think it served us well most of the season. I think notoriously, probably at this club, it's been the case. You know, it's no longer ourselves in Glasgow City going at it season on season. Mm-hmm. There's many other factors in there, other clubs' improvements, and yeah, we probably are at this stage. And you know, look, I played on that a little bit, but I think it's a true story. I think that is how we're viewed, and you know, there's times where it irks you. There's times where you actually appreciate that's probably the truth of the matter, given, you know, the things I've said over and over about our squad size and stuff. But yeah, there's many ways of skinning a cat, and I think what we've done is we've just shown this season that yeah, it's good to be an underdog. It's good to sometimes be under the radar, but I think when these players have had to step up, and you know, even going into that last game, we might have been viewed as underdog, but I think they can also be front runners and handle the pressure now. So yeah, it makes us hopefully a dangerous opponent for a long time.
Is that the message for next season? You know, it's one thing to get to the top, it's another to stay there.
I think it is. I think it's a massive challenge. You know, and no disrespect intended, and every team has their own issues, but you know, Celtic had a magnificent season last season. Not quite repeated that, and I don't. You know, they're not that far away, and probably 2 or 3 weeks ago we're still in and around, and maybe had a chance. But so I don't think it's been the disaster everyone has kind of thought or mentioned. But certainly for us, you know, we want to be doing the same again. We want to be challenging right to the last day. We want to be making cup semis and finals, hopefully. But I think the group we've got, there's enough resilience in them to keep going. But that's a challenge. You know, it's a new challenge because we've not been in this position for so long. None of the players here have either, so it's a brand new set of circumstances. But yeah, I think for anyone to be ambitious in sport, you want to stay at the top. You want to keep pushing and being as close to that level as you can all the time. So yeah, it's a new ambition, probably a new challenge for us. But yeah, I'm sure we'll give it a go.
And what have the conversations been like with even David Gray or Malky McKay?
Yeah, look, everyone at the club's so delighted for us. They're really pleased for the players. Obviously, we work in the same building as everyone, and they see the work they put in the gym and on the training pitch, how the players go about their business. Yeah, so everyone's just really, really excited and pleased for us getting it over the line. And look, like everyone, myself included, probably some of the players, you have doubts and you're thinking, right, we're on a good run. Is this going to end, or can we maintain it? And I'm sure everyone's thinking the same. So when you actually get it over the line, the kind of pleasure and relief at the same time from everybody involved is unbelievable.
Just finally then, where does this rank in the list of Grant Scott's achievements?
Look, it's the highest one without doubt. I think you know, won cup trophies here before, which I think was special. And in fairness, I think under the kind of old era of the game, when ourselves and City were very competitive with each other, but there wasn't an awful lot else. Even the cup wins back then were massive, because even then City had a couple of full-timers and paid players, and at Hibs we didn't have any of that. We just had a really good bunch of players. But I feel that the competition and the challenge is so much higher now, and it's, you know, I don't want to say everyone can win a cup. That's not true, because it's tough. But I think when you've done it over a consistent period and having all played the same number of games, you're sitting at the top of the pile, clear on points. For me, at this club, with our resource versus what some others have, I think it's an unbelievable achievement by the players to have got this one over the line.
Well, Grant, thank you so much for your time today, and best of luck for next season.
No worries, thank you.